A very good evening to you. You are watching Prime TV News. Let's take a look at the headlines first. The railways is to be declared an essential service. The President has referred to those who are hurt as a result of the rail strike. An agreement has been signed with a US voluntary organization to improve English in the education sector. And in headlines overseas, Lombok in Indonesia is hit by a new quake as the death toll tops 300. And now let's take a look at the news in detail. The railway service is to be declared an essential service. This was announced by Deputy Minister Ashok Abe Singha. He was addressing a news briefing held at the United National Party Sirikota head office. President Maithripala Sirisena has said that those who engage in strikes based on their privileges as well as on the rights of the innocent people should think about it. The President pointed out that it is not the government but the innocent people of this country that are impacted by strikes. He made these observations joining in a program held at the Vihara Mahadevi Park in Colombo. The distribution of 100,000 herbal plants jointly organized by the Sri Lanka Ayurvedic Drugs Corporation and the Sri Lanka Army at the Vihara Mahadevi Park was held under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena. It was named as the Punarudaya Dinahataka operation. More than 100 varieties of 100,000 herbal plants are due to be planted within army camps. The plants are being distributed through the Ayurvedic Drugs Corporation. This new project has been initiated as a step towards sustainable development. Addressing the function, President Maithripala Sirisena pointed out that dedication, sacrifice and integrity of all sectors are essential for the renaissance of the nation. The President further pointed out that the government has drawn up plans to increase to 32% the forest density of the country, which now stands at 28%. Referring to the sudden railway strike, which was staged last afternoon, the President said the railway employees staged a sudden strike yesterday. Did they do so without thinking of the hardships encountered by office workers returning home and also the difficulties confronted by students sitting the advanced level examination and also children returning home after attending schools? It is a myth if anyone, maybe railway workers or doctors, think that the government is hurt by these strikes. The President said that it is the innocent, poor people who are hurt by these strikes. He called on the doctors to launch strikes on behalf of the rights of the patients. The right do not visit government hospitals, nor do they travel by train. It is the ordinary people of they do not visit government hospitals, nor do they travel by train. It is the ordinary people of the country that travel by train. He said that some who travel by train have only the season ticket in their pockets. The President referred to the immense hardships encountered by workers serving in government offices and private workplaces who travel by train. The President, also expressing views on the imposition of the death penalty, said that he had discussions with the authorities concerned yesterday on the enforcement of the death penalty for those who had been peddling in drugs. He said he had to receive the report of the Justice Minister, the Attorney General and the report of the judges who imposed the death penalty. He said that he had received the report of the judges and the other two reports will be received next week. As such, he said that these have to be fulfilled to achieve renaissance. The lightning strike mooted by several railway trade unions yesterday based on a salary issue is still in force. Despite the strike, the Department of Railways took action to provide the required transport facilities to train commuters by operating about 8 office trains this afternoon. Railway trade unions pointed out that their strike mooted based on several demands, including a salary issue, will be effective until solutions were found. The government has emphasized that it is unreasonable to launch a strike despite solutions being found for the problems of the railway employees. Minister Mangala Samaravira mentioned that this strike has been mooted by saboteurs with the intention of achieving parochial gains. Although several workers attempted to operate trains at the Colombo Fort railway station last night, saboteurs prevented them from doing so. However, about 8 trains operated today with the aim of providing the required transport facilities to the railway commuters. In the meantime, making a statement, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva said that it is not possible to increase the salaries of the railway workers as and when wanted. If it was done, the government will be compelled to increase the salaries of other government employees in parallel grades. An opportunity has been afforded to deploy sufficient buses for operation in addition to the operation of private buses. Commuters who have railway tickets have been permitted to travel in buses with those tickets. Meanwhile, State Minister Dr. Harsha De Silva has called on the people, particularly to give an opportunity for advanced level students to travel in their private vehicles. The Suvasaria bus service too was operative from this morning. The Prime Minister's office has emphasized that the lightning strike launched by several railway trade unions is a black mark on the local trade union. Issuing a statement, Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Minister Sagala Ratnayak, mentioned that yesterday too, the trade unions displayed none other than trade union terrorism. Not only 300s of thousands of workers returning home after ending their day-to-day work, but also a large number of students sitting the GCE Advanced Level Examination encountered grave hardships by the sudden strike mooted by the railway employees. The statement issued by the Prime Minister's office said that launching such a sudden strike, considering that their needs as important rather than the needs of others, clearly portrays their hypocritical mentality. This has emphasized that the time has come to defeat terrorism as the ideology of the trade unions, as in the case separatist terrorism that had ditched the country, that had ravaged the country for 30 years, was routed. The government respects the trade unions as well as their rights to the maximum, while it is their responsibility to engage in activities remaining in moral ethics. It is not ethical to place the gun on the head of the commuters returning to their homes after work, and also children who are appearing for a very important examination in their life. The final strategy of a trade union should be to launch a strike, and the government announcement underlines that it should not be used as their first weapon. The announcement points out that the protest staged by the railway commuters at the Colombo Fort railway station and in the surroundings should be understood in such a backdrop. As a responsible government, it is also necessary to take the essential measures required to ensure that the security of the people and of the strikers is safe and secure, and send them home, even if they are able to understand their anger. The announcement issued by the Prime Minister's office pointed out that it was based on these facts that action was taken to optimum initiatives by deploying the police special task force. The dedication of the government to ensure democracy and safeguard the human rights should not be considered as a weak point. The announcement said that the government will be dedicated to the maximum to defeat trade union terrorism and return civilian life to normality. Minister Sagala Ratnayaka has called upon the people to extend their maximum support to the government in this respect. An agreement related to the improvement of the English language in the education sector in Sri Lanka has been inked. The signing of the agreement took place under the patronage of Education Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam. The agreement was signed by the Education Ministry and the Peace Corps Foundation, a voluntary peace community organization of the United States. Education Secretary Sunil Hettiarachchi signed the agreement on behalf of the Education Ministry, while Chris Bell, Sri Lanka Director of Peace Corps, signed the agreement for the voluntary organisation. According to the agreement, US volunteer teachers are due to arrive in the island and teach the English language free of charge. Former US President John F. Kennedy launched this Peace Corps organization with the aim of improving peace and friendship worldwide. Still on local news, Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam has said that the government is continuously active on behalf of developing the country in the midst of whatever obstacles it has to face. The minister was addressing a program of taking Sirikota to the village. It is operative to identify and find immediate solutions to the problems encountered by United National Party representatives. A large number of United National Party people's representatives of the southern province joined in this gathering, which was held at the Sirikota party head office. Expressing views on the occasion, the minister said that the present government was taking initiatives fearlessly to reinforce democracy, establishing good governance within the country. The minister called on people's representatives to educate the rural community on the Gamperaliya and Enterpriser Sri Lanka programs that are operative on behalf of the uplift of the economy of the villages. The Colombo High Court today fixed 9th October as the date to take up for consideration the case filed against former Economic Development Minister Basil Rajapaksa and former Director General of the Divinaguma Development Department Kitsiri Ranawaka over the alleged misuse of over 36 million rupees of funds of the Divinaguma Development Department. They are accused of purchasing GI pipes during the last presidential election, spending funds of the Divinaguma Development Department and distributing them among local councils. Since the said crime had taken place in the Colombo 8 area during the last part of the year 2014, the State Council said that the Colombo High Court has the authority to consider the case. He said that he expects to make further inquiries on the stand of the Attorney General in this respect and forward it to courts at the next hearing date. Accordingly, the case was postponed for the 9th of October. The verdict given imposing the death penalty on the 7 persons convicted with respect to the murder of the student Vidya in Jaffna has been challenged. The Supreme Court fixed 13th December as the date to take up the appeals petition for consideration. It was a 3-judge member comprising Balendran Sashi Mahendran, Annalingam Premashankar and Manikavasagar Ilanchelian that imposed the death penalty on these convicts. The appeals petition was taken up before a 3-judge panel headed by Supreme Court Judge Eva Vanasundara. The student Sivaloganathan Vidya of 9th Lane, Punkurutiu, Jaffna was sexually abused and murdered on 13th May 2015. %, of the work with respect to the establishment of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party Balamandala has now been completed. This was mentioned by Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe addressing a media briefing held at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party head office. Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe said that between 80 to 85% of the SLFP Balamandala have been set up. Action has also been taken to set up more Balamandala by this Saturday and Sunday. The minister also expressed views with respect to the recent launch of the National Sustainable Development Plan. A Chinese diplomatic delegation arrived in the island today with the intention of undertaking a tour of Sri Lanka. On arrival in the island, the delegation was greeted by Southern Province Governor Marshall Pereira. The delegation will remain in the island until the 12th of this month. The visitors are due to hold discussions with several government ministers. The inking of a memorandum of understanding on the development of the southern province is slated to take place with the participation of the Chinese delegation. A group of tea cultivators has pointed out that tea cultivation can be done with the application of organic fertilizer. There are rumors that there has been an adverse effect on tea plantations following the ban imposed on the use of the glyphosate agrochemical. However, it has been witnessed how a group of tea smallholders has been successfully engaged in the cultivation of tea using organic fertilizer. A group of journalists joined in a field visit to the Moravaka area recently to observe as to how the cultivation of tea was being carried out with the application of organic fertilizer. The journalists were able to observe as to how tea cultivation was carried out with organic fertilizer without using any agrochemical for 19 years. The extent of this tea cultivation spans 120 acres. In addition to tea cultivation, there is a distinct diversity of crops. Estate owners engaged in tea cultivation with organic fertilizer are operative as an association. Its membership is 110. They claim that at present, a kilogram of organic raw tea. And that's all the news we have for you tonight. For more information, you can log on to www.itnnews.lk, our interactive site. I'm Umayangi Vijay Surya signing off for Prime TV News. Have a pleasant evening.